Moving on to the brickwork for the kit. Now, if you have the premium kit, whether it's a through road or dead end, you will have some brickwork for the lower part of your kit, which will go on this piece here. If you bought the standard kit, then you're just going to get a standard MDF with engraved lines to try and replicate concrete panels. Some of the depots would have been built with concrete panels, and then you can do a concrete stipple effect to make it look like that. And obviously you've got your end pieces that will go at the depot ends. Now obviously if you've got the dead end piece, it will be slightly different. I haven't got one of those to hand. So standard concrete, ideally you need to prime it, white primer or grey primer. If you're going to do a stipple effect, most probably white primer might be better, but grey primer if you're just going to do your dabbing method with different coloured paints. And your brickwork, I tend to use Halford's red oxide primer, does the job really well. I do have a better effect now by using a matte varnish first and then going over it with a red oxide primer. That's entirely up to you. So I am going to go and matte varnish my brickwork, grey prime the standards, allow those to dry. Once they're dry, then I can come back and red oxide primer the brickwork, and then obviously then it's up to you whether you want to then add your mortar and colour individual bricks, etc. On double O gauge it doesn't show as much, but if this was O gauge then it would certainly be worth it, but this isn't O, this is double O. So let's take these into the garage and complete these. Hopefully by now you've done some kind of priming or painting your bricks. So what I did, obviously just to remind, I did a quick matte varnish over the bare MDF brickwork. I've then done a spray of Halford's red oxide primer. Now I could do another coat of matte varnish if I wanted to. If you wanted to have pristine looking bricks, that's ideal. Although my building is going to look pristine, I'm not going to do matte varnish. I'm just literally going to add the mortar. So I use this fine surface polyfiller from Polycell, and I tend to add a colour, because obviously it's white, I don't really want white mortar. I tend to add a grey or buff colour, and those are the two I tend to use, deck tan or buff. Just use a couple of drops, squeeze some of the polyfiller out onto a spare piece of MDF, add the drops of paint, mix it all in, and then all I'm going to do is get it on my finger and wipe it along the brickwork. I then get some quality kitchen roll and wipe it off quickly, and that should then leave the mortar inside the grooves and not on the bricks. Then do the whole row. Then you might want to just get a damp sponge, and a very damp sponge, just to go over it, just to get any excess off, and then wipe over it again with a cloth. And obviously don't forget to do the small end pieces as well. So I'm going to have a go at doing these ones, and then I'll come back and show you when that's done. And that's the result from adding your polyfiller with a bit of added colour. You can make the mortar whatever colour you like, but I've just gone for a light grey buff colour, mixed it together, and it looks like a fairly clean brick wall, which is obviously what we want to try and achieve with our clean shed. So they'll be ready to be glued on the sides and ends fairly soon. When your polyfiller is dried and you've wiped it all and you're happy with it, put it to one side, allow it to dry for a few hours, and then I'd recommend giving it a coat of matte varnish to protect it as well. When gluing your brickwork or concrete panels to the side of your depot, I use the rocket card glue and liberally apply it to the back of the panel, then just offer it up against the side and hold it in position. Use a bit of card or spare MDF just to keep it in position while it bonds to the card and dries. We need to add the end brickwork pieces, so hopefully you've painted and mortared those, and they just butt up against the edge of the side ones. There should be a small area gap left in there because we're going to be putting a door frame in. and obviously that's to be replicated on this side and the other sides. And also on the front, although we're going to be covering this in corrugated card, I've already done that once, made a mistake, so I've taken it off. But we need to, inside the doors, just here, you'll most probably, when you've painted it white inside, you'll still most probably see the white inserts going all the way around. Now obviously I've got a black frame, depending on what colour you paint it, so all I've done is gone with a small paintbrush and painted on the inner edges of all these sides black to blend it in, because obviously this hasn't got any doors and it certainly wouldn't be white, it'd more likely be black, silver or yellow, but I'm just going to make it black for ease of use. And so I've done that on all the sides. I haven't done it on the top piece because obviously it's acrylic, so you don't really need to worry about that. So I'm going to turn the depot shed around and just duplicate what I've just done there. So it's entirely up to you to do that, but it makes sense to cover up the white area parts if that's what you painted it in.